Hello everyone, welcome to Ghostly Encounters. Before we get into the stories, I would just like to warn you all that the following stories are extremely disturbing, and some of them might include certain deaths. These are true stories, and the sources are credited down in the description. Enjoy the video. Story number 1. The Road to Darkness. I never liked driving at night. The darkness swallowed everything, making the road ahead a black void. But that night, I had no choice. I was driving home from a friend's place, and as the clock struck midnight, I hit the road. The eerie silence of the night enveloped me, broken only by the faint sound of the engine humming. The streetlights stood like sentinels, casting long, ominous shadows on the asphalt. Gripping the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles turned white as I tried to focus on the road ahead. Deeper into the night, a dense fog rolled in, reducing visibility to mere feet. I slowed down, cautiously navigating through the mist. The air felt heavy and cold, sending shivers down my spine. Each passing moment intensified the feeling of not being alone. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of something in the rearview mirror. A distorted figure stood at the side of the road. I turned my head, but there was nothing there, just an empty, desolate stretch of road disappearing into the fog. I shook off the unease, convincing myself it was a trick of the light. Yet the feeling of being watched persisted, like 1,000 eyes boring into the back of my head. The sensation of something closing in on me was unshakable. The road twisted and turned, winding through the darkness. A sign emerged from the fog. Abandoned town ahead. Enter at your own risk. My heart skipped a beat, but curiosity got the better of me. I decided to venture into the deserted town, hoping to find answers. The town was a ghostly silhouette against the night sky. Buildings stood in disrepair, windows shattered, and doors hanging off their hinges. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my echoing footsteps. Time seemed to have stopped in this forsaken place. Cautiously, I entered an old, decrepit house. The air inside was stale, carrying a musty smell. Dust covered everything, as if the house had been abandoned for decades. I made my way through the creaking hallway, my heart pounding. Suddenly, a door slammed shut behind me. Panic surged through my veins as I struggled to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The house felt alive, imprisoning me within its decaying walls. The room grew darker, shadows stretching and contorting around me. Whispers filled the air, faint and unintelligible like a haunting melody. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the terror. Opening them, I found myself back in the car, still parked in the abandoned town. The fog had thickened, visibility reduced to inches. It wasn't a dream. I was trapped in a nightmare. Trembling, I turned the key in the ignition, praying the car would start. The engine roared to life, and I raced through the fog-filled streets, searching for an exit. But the town stretched on forever, its streets winding in an endless labyrinth. The nightmare persisted. Whispers grew louder, echoing inside my head, driving me to the brink of madness. Shadows danced at the corners of my vision, taunting me. Then, a blinding light pierced through the fog. Relief washed over me as I saw headlights from another car. I sped toward it, honking and waving for help. But as I got closer, the car vanished, leaving me alone in the darkness. Defeated, I pulled over and shut off the engine. The whispers grew louder, filling the car with their haunting melody. Tears streamed down my face as I accepted my fate. As the night wore on, darkness consumed me completely, swallowing my existence. I became another lost soul, forever doomed to wander the night, a victim of a road leading to darkness. So heed my warning. If you ever drive alone at night, beware of the shadows lurking in your vision. For once you enter the realm of darkness, there may be no escape. Story number 2. The Road to Nowhere. It was a moonless night as I set out on my journey, driving alone along a desolate highway. The darkness was impenetrable, and the only source of light was the dim glow of my car's headlights. The radio crackled with static, and I felt an eerie sense of foreboding creep up my spine. I had heard stories of this road, whispers of its haunted past, but I dismissed them as mere superstitions. I was an adventurous soul, seeking excitement in the unknown. Little did I know that I was about to experience a nightmarish journey unlike any other. As the miles passed, I became aware of a peculiar sensation, a feeling that I was being watched. Shadows danced on the edges of my vision, and a chilling breeze seeped through the closed windows. I brushed it off as a figment of my imagination, yet the unease lingered. Suddenly, my headlights flickered, casting erratic beams of light onto the deserted road ahead. My heart skipped a beat and a knot formed in my stomach. I pressed on, determined to reach my destination, but my confidence waned with each passing moment. In the distance, I saw a figure standing by the side of the road. My foot instinctively eased off the gas pedal as I approached. The silhouette was hunched over, its form distorted. As I drew nearer, I realized it was a woman, dressed in tattered clothing. Her face was obscured by long, matted hair. Against my better judgment, I stopped the car and rolled down the window. "Are you all right?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no response. The woman remained motionless, her back turned towards me. I could sense something was horribly wrong.
Fear gnawed at me, urging me to flee, but a strange curiosity compelled me to investigate further. I stepped out of the car, my heart pounding in my chest. The woman slowly turned around, revealing her face, a grotesque mask of decay and malice. Her eyes were empty voids, devoid of life. I recoiled in horror, my mind screaming at me to run, but my body froze in place. She took a step towards me, her movements jagged and unnatural. With every step, she emitted an otherworldly moan that sent shivers down my spine. Panic engulfed me, and I stumbled backward, desperately fumbling for the car keys. The world seemed to blur around me as I fumbled with the lock. Finally, the door swung open, and I hurled myself inside, slamming it shut behind me. As I sped away, I stole a glance at the rearview mirror, and what I saw chilled me to the core. The woman was no longer there. Instead, in her place, stood a towering figure, a grotesque amalgamation of flesh and bone. Its eyes glowed with an unholy light, and its mouth stretched wide into a sinister grin. I swerved through the winding road, desperately trying to escape the nightmarish apparition. The road seemed to stretch on forever, leading me deeper into a realm of unspeakable terror. Shadows loomed on either side, whispering in sinister voices that echoed in my mind. My vision blurred with tears as I fought to maintain control of the car. The entity pursued me relentlessly, its presence suffocating. With each passing second, my sanity slipped further away, replaced by a paralyzing dread. Just when I thought all hope was lost, a faint glimmer of light appeared in the distance. It grew brighter with every heartbeat, until I could see the outline of a small town on the horizon. With newfound strength, I pushed the car to its limits, racing towards the safety that lay ahead. As I entered the town, the haunting presence vanished, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. I parked the car and stepped out, my legs trembling. I looked back towards the road from which I had come, but it was shrouded in darkness, as if it had swallowed all traces of the horrors that had unfolded. To this day, I can still hear the whispers in my dreams, and the image of that monstrous figure haunts my waking hours. I learned a valuable lesson on that fateful night, that some roads should never be traveled, for they lead to a darkness from which there is no escape.
Story number 3. The Night Drive. I shouldn't have taken that shortcut. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Save some time, avoid the traffic. Little did I know that it would turn into a nightmare. The sun had set and darkness enveloped the world as I embarked on my ill-fated journey. The road stretched out before me, winding through dense woods. The branches of the towering trees formed gnarled fingers, reaching out in a sinister manner. The only source of light was my car's headlights, casting long shadows that danced on the road. As I drove deeper into the woods, an eerie silence settled around me. The hum of the engine seemed amplified, echoing through the silent night. My heart pounded in my chest, and a cold sweat dripped down my forehead. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't turn back now. Suddenly, a figure appeared in my peripheral vision. I gasped and slammed on the brakes. My heart skipped a beat as the car screeched to a halt. I peered out the window, but there was nothing, just the dark abyss of the night. My imagination must have been playing tricks on me. Shaking off the unease, I continued driving. The road became even more treacherous, potholes lurking in the darkness like open mouths ready to devour my tires. I had to slow down, but a sense of urgency pushed me forward. A dense fog began to creep in, reducing visibility to almost nothing. I squinted, struggling to make out the road ahead. Shadows seemed to move just beyond the reach of the headlights. The atmosphere grew heavier, suffocating my lungs. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as a chilling wind rattled my car. It felt like icy fingers caressing the back of my neck. Goosebumps prickled on my skin, and a shiver ran down my spine. Fear gnawed at my insides, but I pressed on, hoping to escape this nightmarish drive. Then, out of nowhere, a shape darted across the road, barely visible through the fog. I slammed on the brakes once more, my heart leaping into my throat. I strained my eyes, desperate to catch another glimpse of whatever had crossed my path. But there was nothing, only the sound of my rapid breathing filling the silence. With trembling hands, I switched on my high beams, hoping to pierce through the veil of fog. What I saw next sent a chill straight to my bones. A figure stood in the middle of the road, shrouded in darkness. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, fixated on me. A primal fear seized me, paralyzing my every muscle. As I sat there, frozen in terror, the figure moved closer. Its slow, deliberate steps echoed in my ears. Panic surged through me, and I fumbled for my phone, intending to call for help. But as I glanced up, the figure was gone. I blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But then I saw it again, this time in my rearview mirror. The figure stood behind my car, its gaze piercing through the glass. My heart thundered in my chest as I realized it wasn't alone. More figures emerged from the darkness, surrounding my vehicle, their eyes burning with an insatiable hunger. Fear took control, and I slammed the car into reverse, tires screeching on the asphalt. Adrenaline surged through my veins, propelling me backward, away from the horde of figures. They chased after me, their unearthly shrieks piercing the night. I sped through the treacherous road, narrowly avoiding trees and potholes, desperate to escape the clutches of whatever haunted these woods. Finally, I burst out of the forest, the night air hitting my face like a wave of relief. I didn't stop until I reached the nearest town, my body trembling and my mind racing. The horrors I had witnessed that night would forever haunt my dreams. I had ventured into a darkness that should have remained untouched. Never again will I take that shortcut. The night drive gone wrong was a reminder that some roads are best left untraveled. And as the shadows lengthen and the sun sinks below the horizon, I shudder, knowing that the darkness holds secrets I dare not explore. Story number 4. It was a dark and stormy night, the rain relentlessly pouring down, obscuring my vision as I navigated the treacherous roads. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles turning white with tension. The only source of light came from my car's dim headlights, illuminating the eerily empty road ahead. I had taken this route countless times before, but tonight something felt different. Something was off. The usual hum of passing cars and the occasional flickering street lamp were conspicuously absent. It was as if the world had been swallowed by a black void, leaving me alone in this desolate realm. The rain intensified, battering against my windshield like invisible hands, distorting the outside world into a blurry nightmare. My heart pounded in my chest, and a shiver crawled up my spine. Still, I pressed on, determined to reach my destination. As I ventured deeper into the night, strange occurrences started to unfold. Shadows danced along the edges of my vision, flickering and contorting in unnatural ways. A sense of unease settled upon me, but I brushed it off as mere fatigue. Yet a part of me knew something was horribly wrong. Suddenly, my headlights caught sight of a figure standing motionless by the side of the road. I slammed on the brakes, causing my car to screech to a halt. My breath hitched in my throat as I peered into the darkness, trying to make out the figure's features. It stood there, its body shrouded in tattered clothing, face hidden beneath a hood. A chill ran down my spine as I realized it was not facing me, but staring intently into the distance. Curiosity and concern compelled me to roll down my window and call out to the mysterious figure. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice trembling with uncertainty. There was no response. Only an eerie silence that seemed to swallow my words. Uneasy, I decided to continue my journey, hoping to find help at the next town. But as I drove on, the figure appeared again, and then again, at every mile marker along the desolate highway. It was as if it was following me, watching my every move with an unnerving intensity. Fear gripped me like a vice, squeezing the air out of my lungs. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled into something inexplicable, something beyond the realm of reason. The road ahead seemed endless, stretching out into a nightmarish abyss. Suddenly, a piercing screech cut through the air, jolting me from my thoughts. My heart raced as I saw a massive semi-truck hurtling toward me, its blinding headlights illuminating the darkness. Panic seized me as I swerved to avoid the impending collision, narrowly escaping disaster. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands trembling uncontrollably. I glanced into my rearview mirror, and my blood ran cold. The figure had vanished, leaving no trace of its presence. I couldn't shake the feeling that it had been the harbinger of a terrible fate, a warning that I had narrowly escaped. Fighting back tears, I realized that my only chance for survival lay in returning to civilization. With renewed determination, I pressed on, my foot heavy on the gas pedal, desperate to put as much distance as possible between me and the nightmarish road. Hours passed, and the rain eventually ceased, giving way to a starless sky. I breathed a sigh of relief as I finally reached the outskirts of a town. The familiar glow of street lights and the sound of distant traffic enveloped me, comforting in their normalcy. As I parked my car, I glanced back at the road I had traveled. The memories of that horrifying journey still haunted me, but I knew that I had escaped the clutches of the unknown. I vowed never to venture onto that desolate highway again, for it was a place where darkness thrived and nightmares became all too real. Okay, everybody, that was it, and I hope you enjoyed the video.